What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with Dark Outpost, and about a month ago, I came to you with the story about a former Lucasfilm employee who was ready to spill the tea about Disney Star Wars, tell us everything that happened in that transition between George Lucas and then Kathleen Kennedy and Disney, and how it was so catastrophic, but he was not able to. J.W. Rinzler had a blog called The Rise and Fall of Star Wars that was taken down by Disney. Now he wants to publish a book about the rise and fall of Star Wars, but they are not allowing him to do so. We have a little more information about his feelings about the transition that went from George to Disney. Let's take a look at some of this. Now you can see this headline from Bounding into Comics. Former Lucasfilm and Star Wars editor J.W. Rinzler describes Disney was all about control and fear and paranoia. Now this video, we're going to go through a couple things, mostly from Ichibaka. Disney Star Wars is dumb. Ichibaka has been all over this from the very beginning. He's been alerting me when there's different changes to this story. He is awesome. Go check out his page. Go give him a follow on Twitter. Go give him a sub on YouTube. But this is the article we talked about almost a month ago, The Rise and Fall of Star Wars. Now, this was when J.W. Rinzler was out there talking about why his Force Awakens book got canceled. He was working on the making of The Force Awakens, but it was very different than any of the other experiences he had had at Lucasfilm in the over 15 years that he had worked there. Here it is right here. Why was the book canceled? In an interview with Hero Collector, J.W. Rinzler says, there was no chance that book was going to be published. He joined Lucasfilm on October 1st, 2001, midway through production of Attack of the Clones. He remained there, writing some reference books, include the comprehensive making of books, and editing others, until after the sale of the company. I knew when I started writing it that it would be canceled. There were a lot of things that were known to the public that I think Disney and Kathleen Kennedy just didn't want to rehash. This is just speculation on my part, but even stuff like changing the date of a release, that Brad Bird was approached first, that Harrison Ford was almost killed. They were not comfortable with the book rehashing those issues. Because we know that Disney likes to control everything. They like to present us with this very clean look at Star Wars now, as opposed to the Star Wars of old, the Lucasfilm of old, when George Lucas just truly wanted to give people an insight and an honest look at the making of these films. That is sadly no longer. But since that time, J.W. Rinzler has come on. He actually did a stream on his YouTube channel, and he's appeared on several other YouTube channels as well. And I specifically want to hear a couple clips from things that he has said so you guys can hear in his own words how exactly he feels about current Lucasfilm, Disney Star Wars. Again, Ichibaka. J.W. Rinzler's friend left Lucasfilm early and, quote, suffered less brain damage. And there's a lot of other things in here about J.W. Rinzler. Again, this is a PDF of the complete blog that was captured before it was taken down. Again, that blog was entitled The Rise and Fall of Star Wars. That is the book that he wants to put out, which is a collection of all the things he wanted to say about how Star Wars went downhill. The fall of Star Wars after Lucasfilm and Disney took over. The following are some comments from his recent appearances. Now, this first one is one that we covered in that video I did a month ago, where he talked about Bob Iger's book and how upset that George was when they realized that they weren't going to do what his plan for the sequel trilogy was, his outline that he had given them, and how betrayed he felt. And here is that live stream. Now, myself, along with a couple hundred of other people, were watching this unlisted live stream on YouTube when J.W. Rinzler answered a couple questions, but mostly stayed very quiet about what everyone actually wanted to know about what it was like behind the scenes at Lucasfilm. And he even spoke about an NDA, that he can't speak because of an NDA. So he has to be very careful about what he says. But a couple people in the comments did ask some things, so I wanted to take a look at these. Mike Sidious. How did the Lucasfilm company culture change when Disney took over? J.W. Rinzler says, in my opinion, for the most part, in licensing, it wasn't pretty. This one, how long does the NDA last? J.W. Rinzler said, lawyers have said the more time that elapses, the less the NDA can be enforced, but it's not a fixed time. Ichibaka then replies, how much time has to elapse before it's safe for a publisher to pick up The Rise and Fall of Star Wars? Are we talking months, years, or decades? J.W. Rinzler said that's a question for a lawyer, but he would guesstimate 5 to 10 years before he feels like a publisher would be comfortable picking up what he wants to talk about. This person asked, how was it working with Kathleen Kennedy? The response, interesting, ... That should be about all you need to know. J.W. Rinzler is not allowed to talk bad about Kathleen Kennedy. That is very clear from these responses. I hope to God that Kathleen Kennedy's 7, 8, 9 trilogy doesn't exist. George brings you back and you guys work on the real 7, 8, 9 trilogy. He says, I'm sure everyone has noted that the sequels don't have the Roman numerals. I guess I doubt there's ever going back, or that I'd be involved. So J.W. Rinzler says, much like everyone else, these rumors about the sequel trilogy being erased, he thinks that there's likely no chance that will ever happen, but he would, in an ideal world, I'm sure he would love it just like the rest of us. And then he did mention, if there are any podcasters, live streamers who would like to talk, I'm open to it. Via my website, there's my email, looking forward to it. So if you are someone who wants to talk to J.W. Rinzler, it sounds like he's very open to it. And in fact, he has been on a couple streams in recent days. This is one where he was asked if he knows any insight about this internal power struggle at Lucasfilm, and I thought the response was interesting. He is on the Rancor Pit. That is where this comes from. They talked to him. Let's hear what he has to say.
I keep in touch with a couple people. A lot of people left, such as myself. I really did not. I think that's fairly obvious. Did not enjoy the transition. I was optimistic at first, and then personally.
Optimistic at first, like a lot of people when they heard that Disney was going to buy Star Wars, that they would be making more movies. And then we realized what those would be. We realized they threw away the expanded universe. We realized that Episode 7 was just this absolute hollow shell of nothingness. This is Disney Star Wars. It's not real Star Wars.
I did not like what was happening. I didn't like what was happening to the licensing department and the publishing department, or the films. That's just my personal opinion. And after I really tried hard to make it work for myself, because it was a job too. I didn't want to starve, to put it in an extreme way. But I just couldn't take it. And I don't think there were camps at that time, but maybe now there are. That I really couldn't speak to. But a lot of people, left. One friend of mine, she left. She saw the writing on the wall right away, and she got out very early and suffered less brain damage.
A friend of mine, she saw the writing on the wall early, just like a lot of us did with Disney Star Wars, and she got out very early and suffered less brain damage. That is pretty telling. But there's one other thing that I wanted to say. Just like the title of this Bounding Into Comics article and this blog by Ichibaka, Disney was all about control and fear and paranoia. This is coming from Forcecast.net, a podcast that he appears on. After saying generally good things about Lucasfilm, he then went on to talk about how it changed after Disney took over. Let's take a listen to this.
So far away, when Disney came along, and I will say this, I don't think it violates any NDA.
Better hope not.
I'd been there for 15 years. I'd worked with George Lucas for all those 15 years. And I couldn't see a script for the longest time for The Force Awakens. And so it was just the polar opposite of ways of working.
And now, this is after he's talking about how it was when he got there and they were working on Attack of the Clones, and they immediately let him see a cut of the movie, let him see the script, because he had to know all these things, because he was going to be an editor on a lot of these things that were coming out. So, of course, he needs to be knowledgeable about the inner workings of what's going on with the movie. Not like at Disney. At Disney, they kept everything hush-hush because of the chaos surrounding it.
It was all about control and fear and paranoia. And Lucas.
Control and fear and paranoia. That is what Lucasfilm is like under Disney, under Kathleen Kennedy.
Not that Lucasfilm we had some of that. I mean, it wasn't like it was heaven on earth, but it was far and away like day compared to that night. It was just so much easier to, and we didn't torture the licensees.
Right.
Some of them could come in and read the script. Not everybody, but the head person, whoever needed to read it for that company, could read it so that they knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And so there was just a lot of cooperation, a lot of sharing of information, and a lot of autonomy. If I decided a book was done, it was good, it was done. It was good, it was published.
So a clear difference between Disney Lucasfilm and George Lucas's Lucasfilm, which, as someone so accurately put it, is Lucasfilm in name only, because now it's Kathleen Kennedy, now it is Disney Star Wars, and although Lucas's name is still there, none of his spirit remains there any longer. I really hope that eventually J.W. Rinzler is allowed to say more about the inner workings of Lucasfilm, because if he has an NDA and can't speak about it, chances are there's a lot of other people who feel the exact same way as him. He talked about people who had left as well, didn't give any names. How many other people are bound by this NDA and can't talk about what happened at Disney and Lucasfilm under Kathleen Kennedy's watch? Let me know what you think about all of this. Would you like to see the full rise and fall of Star Wars? Again, you can go to Ichibaka's site. You can find the PDF for the ones that he had done. Nothing even too bad before Disney took it down because they're scared. Let me know in the comments. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.